With as popular as cucumbers are in the US, you might suspect that they're native to the United States. But they're not. Leave a comment if you think you know where cucumbers actually originated. Guten Yardening, everybody! Today we are joining the Single Seed Challenge 2021, and the first challenge is deciding which seed to plant. Now, the Single Seed Challenge was started by someone named Scott Head from Black Gumbo Southern Gardening. And if you want to be a part of this challenge, it's pretty simple. What you're trying to do isn't to beat someone else at anything, it's to plant a seed and watch that seed develop from the time of planting all the way up to maturity. And the seed we've chosen for this video is the Sikkim cucumber. Now, the Sikkim cucumber is a very unique looking cucumber. The skin is a reddish brown, and it has these crack marks on it that look almost like if you picture the dry seabed where the mud starts to crack apart. That's kind of what the skin of this cucumber reminds me of. And you can see just what the seed looks like. This seed, and it's pretty fantastic to think about, and really that's one of the most amazing things about gardening in the first place, that a tiny seed like this is going to turn into a plant, in this case, that's about 4 feet tall by 1.5 feet wide in just the span of 50 to 70 days. So in 2 months, we should be able to harvest a whole bunch of cucumbers from this plant. And the fruit of the Sikkim cucumber can grow up to a couple of pounds, and from what we've read, they taste great fresh, they taste great pickled, and they're really good stir-fried. Now, I have never stir-fried a cucumber before, but based on what I've read, it's delicious, and I'm gonna try it as long as we get a whole bunch of cucumbers from these plants. Now, we're located in Zone 5, Wisconsin, which typically means we would not be planting these cucumbers yet. In fact, we would wait until around mid-April so that we can move them outdoors and transplant them mid to late May and early June, because cucumbers do not like the cold. In fact, they're really cold sensitive. They want those nice warm temperatures both in the soil and in the air. So the soil needs to be around 70 degrees before you transplant outside. And it's mid-February here, and we just went through one of the coldest cold streaks we've had for quite some time. And so there's no way we should be planting this early if we were planning to move this cucumber outside, but we're not. We're going to do this challenge, and we're going to grow this cucumber the entire time indoors. So we're really excited to see how this turns out. We're going to grow this in our grow tent. Now, why is that a good option? Well, our grow tent's temperature averages around 73 to 75 degrees. And this little cucumber really likes to germinate in that 70 to 90 degree range. So we've got a perfect temperature for germination, and then that's a nice warm temperature as the plant continues to develop. Now, I'm adding some potting mix here. This is some soilless potting mix that we're going to plant this in. And this is the same mix that we've been growing most of our other vegetables in. This is a mixture of peat moss, coco coir, some vermiculite, and it's got great drainage and also moisture retention, which is really important. These love water. And then I added some general organic fertilizer as well as some azomite. That's some trace rock minerals. So it's got all of that, and on top of all that, it's got some worm castings from our vermiculture setup. So lots of great organic matter in here, plenty of nutrition for me to plant this seed in. It's a little bit bigger seed, which means it can go a little bit deeper. We're actually going to plant this at about 3/4 of an inch, maybe about an inch deep. And so the planting, just a little hole, drop the seed in, and I'll cover it nicely. This soil is nice and damp. It's not dried out in any way. It's nice and damp, and we're going to make sure, because this is not in ground, we're going to make sure that this stays damp while it's developing. We don't let it dry out, because that will increase the chances that the fruit we get in the end will be bitter, and we don't want that. There's nothing quite as bad, I think, as a bitter cucumber. Now, cucumbers are traditionally pretty low maintenance vegetables, even though, to be honest, we've struggled a bit with them outdoors. But inside, we have control over the temperature, which we've talked about, and on top of that, we have the ability to control the lighting. Now, a cucumber is a full sun plant, which means it needs a minimum of 6 hours. A minimum of 6 hours. We typically keep our grow lights on for about 12 to 14 hours every day, and so we have plenty of light for it to grow under, and so that's not going to be an issue either. So we've got all the pieces, I think, necessary for a successful single seed challenge. We've got a great soilless mix that's going to help us keep that moisture in the soil but also drain well. We've got great lighting, and we've got wonderful temperatures. Now, when it comes to germinating cucumbers, because it loves that warmth, you want to make sure the bottom of the container is nice and warm as well. That bottom temperature should be at least 70 degrees. Well, in our grow tent, that's not going to be a problem at all. But if you have a seed heating mat, that would work perfectly. You don't want to set it down on top of a cold concrete floor because that will impact and stunt really the development of the plant early on. Instead, if you have a warm spot like on top of a refrigerator or a warm water heater, that will work perfectly as well. The key here is keeping that temperature up. The seeds typically germinate within 3 to 10 days, and it goes faster as it gets warmer. So around 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, you're probably going to see some germination within 3 to 4 days. So the more you can do to keep your plants at that appropriate temperature, the faster you're going to see results. Now, there's one more thing I do want to talk about with regard to this cucumber. This is the single seed challenge. That's not the double seed challenge. And cucumbers, like watermelons and other plants, prefer to have more than one plant for pollination. But we're growing this indoors, which means we don't even have any natural pollinators in here. We don't have any bees that we're trying to attract over. And so what we're going to have to do, because the cucumber has both male and female flowers, we're going to get to hand pollinate. So that's another reason why we chose the Sikkim cucumber, because we can show you what hand pollinating looks like after the male flowers show up, followed by the female flowers. We'll be able to show you exactly how that process works. It's really cool, and if you're lacking in pollinators, it can help you see how to improve your harvest that way. Well, we're excited to see what happens next. I'm so excited to see this start to sprout. We will definitely track the progress of this in future videos. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in joining this single seed challenge, again, head on over to Scott Head's channel and see what it's all about. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.